Welcome to Special Children for Special Parents. The purpose of this video is to promote awareness and encourage parents and caregivers to actively engage, interact, and understand children with special needs. So before we move on, let me tell you about me. I am James Lassay. I am a licensed special education teacher here in the state of Pennsylvania. I earned my bachelor's degree in psychology from Xavier University in the Philippines, a special education certification from the Chestnut Hill College in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and master's in education from Westchester University in Westchester, Pennsylvania. And I am a certified K-12 special education teacher from the Pennsylvania Department of Education. About my work experience, I have been a director professional for students with special needs in 2004, and then home and community service provider for adults with special needs, and also a special education teacher and a case manager for elementary, middle, and high school. All right, so let's look at the symbols. So on publications or on documentaries, you see this puzzle. So what is this puzzle all about and what is that standing for? All right, the autism puzzle piece originated as an autism symbol in 1963. And when it was developed to raise autism awareness. So long before Autism Speak was founded in 2005. And lately, it has been changed. So the symbol for autism from the puzzle pieces has now changed into the infinity symbol, or it looks like the figure 8 on each side. And this was created by individuals with autism to represent all forms of neurodiversity, not just autism, and it also represents the idea of infinite possibilities and acceptance. And the color of the rainbow is often associated with diversity and inclusion. So, first, let's take a look at autism spectrum disorder. What is it all about and what is the definition? So, let's take a look at two definitions. Autism, or now called autism spectrum disorder, refers to a broad range of conditions characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behavior, speech, and nonverbal communication. And the Autism Research Institute provides us with a longer definition, and that is autism is a developmental disorder and the symptoms appear within the first 3 years of life. So this can be screened at the age of 3. And its formal diagnostic name is now called Autism Spectrum Disorder. So before there were several names, there were several diagnostic names, and lately it has been transformed into Autism Spectrum Disorder. So the word spectrum was added to indicate that autism appears in different forms with varying levels of severity. So the spectrum or the multicolored spectrum signifies that autism appears in several forms and also the levels of severity. That means that each individual with autism experiences or behavior have their own unique strengths, symptoms, and challenges. So now let's take a look at what are the symptoms, what are the indications, or what are the early signs of autism. All right, so from the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, it tells us that autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is a developmental disability, and it is caused by the differences in the brain function, which may result in different ways of learning, moving, or paying attention. Now, what are the signs and symptoms that we are looking for? All right, so as defined previously, this can be detected as early as the age of 3. All right, so what are those things that we need to look at, or what are those things that uh, are exhibited by a child that may be an indication now they have an autism spectrum disorder? All right, first is avoid or does not keep eye contact. So typical children at a young age focuses on where the sound is coming from, who is talking, and they stare at you, they look at you. But some children, as young as less than 3 years old, they avoid or does not maintain or keep eye contact. And also, they do not show facial expression such as being happy, sad, angry, and surprised by 9 months of age. So there is no facial expressions that would indicate how they feel. And then also at the age of 12, uses a few or no gesture, and that is an example would be does not wave goodbye or does not wave hi. So at this age of 9 months below, children communicates through babbling or through gesture. But an indication of an ASD is that the child may not be able to demonstrate any gesture, even a simple hi or a simple goodbye. All right, and does not notice when others are hurt or upset by the age of 2. So, another indication is that the child may not be able to indicate if the person is upset or hurt. And also, by the age of 3, as we look at the socialization of children, children that demonstrate ASD does not notice other children or does not socialize with other children or play with them. And also, they do not sing, dance, or act um, at the age of 5 years old. So as you can see, children, typical children at the age of 5 loves to act, play roles, and also sing and dance, but some children would be withdrawing from this activity, so they do not sing, they do not dance or act at the age of 5. So these are some common symptoms of developmental delays or developmental disability that could be signs of ASD. All right. Now, again, looking into the US Centers for Disease and Control Prevention, people with ASD have behaviors or interests that can seem unusual. So, what are these behaviors that are, or interests that are unusual? So, these are behaviors or interests that would set them aside from conditions defined by problems with social communication and interaction only. So, what does that mean? So, this can be reflected to restricted or repetitive behaviors or interests. So, one indication would be lining up of their toys or other objects, and they get upset when the order is changed. Also, they may demonstrate or repeat words or phrases over, which is called echolalia. So they may repeat what you have said, or they may repeat statements over and over, and that is called echolalia. And also, they have obsessive interest and must follow certain routines. So, related to the first indication of repetitive behavior, this one they are focused on one interest. So, they might be interested in building blocks, and that's all they do. And also routines. So, their day might start with a certain way, and it has to be followed this. And then when these routines or this obsessive interest are stopped or altered, then this could result into a behavior challenge or what we call as temper tantrum. All right, so another indication is the hand flappings, or they flap hands, they rock their body back and forth, and often they spin selves in circle. So when children demonstrate this, this could be also an indication of ASD. And they are sensitive. They have unusual reactions to the way things sound. So they might be very sensitive to certain sound, smell, taste, look, or feel. So they're much more sensitive. Their senses are very hyped. When it comes to sound, they might react to certain sounds, smells, taste, look, or feel, and gets upset by minor changes. Again, talking about restricted or repetitive behaviors, when these routines are changed or there are some minor changes, then they get upset. So it could be a change in routine, it could be a change in schedule, or it could be a change in the caregiver. Right, moving forward, most people with ASD have other related characteristics such as developmental, physical, or language delays. So, what are the signs and symptoms that we are going to look or are demonstrated that could be a possible indication of developmental, physical, or language delays? All right, so first, delayed language and communication skills. So, this is very important. So, the stages of language and communication skills starts from 9 months onwards. So, that means that if a 1 year old child is expected to demonstrate gesture in order to communicate, then a 1 year old child that does not engage into language or communication skills may indicate a developmental delay. Also, and that would result into delayed cognitive or learning skills. So mahirap silang turuan, it's hard for them to understand or to learn particular skills at a young age. And also, they may demonstrate hyperactivity or being impulsive. So they could demonstrate extra energy. They are energetic for a long period of time. They could be impulsive or react to certain things or certain situations immediately, or inattentive behavior. And others um, would also demonstrate inattentive behavior, or you might have to call their attention many times before you really get their attention or you really get them to understand. And of course, they demonstrate unusual mood or emotional reactions. Also, lack of fear or more fear than expected. So there could be an extremes. So there could be no fear. So they have no fear in any danger, which is very, very important that we need to know, because that if they have no fear in danger, that could also be um, um, an issue. And they might have a lot of fear than expected. Remember that they are sensitive to sounds, they are sensitive to texture, smell. So their senses are hyped. So then this might elicit or this might develop various fears than expected. And then unusual eating and sleeping habits. So connected with hyperactivity and impulsivity, unusual eating habits. So they might be sensitive to certain taste, certain texture of food, so they might be picky on what they want to eat. That is a result of their sensitivity. And also sleeping habits, because they are overactive, they are hyperactive, they are full of energy, they may have different sleeping cycles or sleeping habits. All right, so those are some introduction about um, autism spectrum disorder. What are the symptoms? What are the signs that we need to look at during the developmental age of children? So, in our next video, we will focus on screening. So, at the age of 3, we can screen a child if they have possible autism spectrum disorder. So, why is it important? Why is early screening important? And why is intervention at the young age also important? And with that, identifying your support nature. So it takes a village to educate a child. So then there are support networks. It may vary per country, but then when a child is screened and is diagnosed, then we need to build up that support network. And also interventions at home and understanding ASD behavior. So, how do we intervene? How do we understand behaviors that these children elicit at home? And how do we address temper tantrums and understand the nature on why they elicit this behavior? And also, please add in the comments section your questions or the topics that you want us to explore about autism spectrum disorder. So that is all for our video today, and I hope that I am sharing some information that are valuable to you.